Hey guys, and welcome back to the 1v1 podcast. I am your host, Vlhadus, and today I have a very special guest. She is one of the members of the guild Suspect. Her name is Wizzy McNasty. How's it going, Wizzy?
It is going.
It's going.
Been a day.
Okay.
It's been a day.
All right. So just, if you can go ahead and just tell me a little bit about yourself, like maybe how you found out about Suspect, what got you into Ashes, your MMO history, a little bit like that.
Well, we're going to start with MMO history.
Okay, let's do that.
I started with UO in probably 99.
Okay,
I was dating a guy. I'd go over to his house and he would just sit in his computer room. And I'm like, dude, why am I coming over here? And I didn't understand what he was doing. I'm like, whatever. He's just playing a game, whatever.
Right.
And one day I go over there and he had built me a computer. And he sat me down next to him. And he was like, so go wrestle this bear.
That is some love.
I know, I died so many times wrestling a freaking bear. It was amazing. But then it just, I'm eating a hair. Gross. I apologize. That happened. So I just started playing UO and I was horrible. Absolutely terrible.
Mm-hmm.
But he ran a PvP, he ran an RP guild. And it was like one of the big, it was a smaller RP guild, but it was very PvP focused.
Mm-hmm.
And we would have to spend like 5 hours a day, 4 days a week, building up everybody's magic resist. So it was like a hardcore RP PvP guild. And we had a lot of PKs in the guild. And I was a horrible PvPer. And they spent hours and hours and hours teaching me to PvP. And then one day we went into like a battle with 200 people, 5 different guilds, 200 people. And once you died, you were out. And when it came to the end of it, we went in with 20 people. We came out with 4 men standing, and I was one of the last 4.
Oh,
it was
dang.
Amazing. And ever since then, I've just been hooked on MMOs.
Right.
So I went from our UO guild went to WoW. We raided a little bit, and then I was just so busy with work, I ended up falling off, and I came back probably about a year and a half later. Maybe, I don't know. It was right before BC launched, and I got into it. Like everybody else had gone back to UO, so it was just me out in the world by myself and some friends, real life friends.
Well, that's always good.
Played the crap out of some WoW into Wrath. I was heartbroken when Blizzard destroyed
the game.
We went from 25-man hard modes in Cold War, which were difficult, to being able to roll through TOC and get better gear. And it was just heartbreaking to me, so I just stopped playing WoW. And I think that's about the time that Final Fantasy 14 launched. My Realm Reborn launched, and we got into that for a little bit. Didn't hold my interest. The next one for me was WildStar.
Oh.
WildStar was my jam.
A lot of people in the Ashes community that was their jam.
WildStar was my jam. I don't know. I liked the action combat. It was freaking terrible, but it was what it was.
Mm-hmm.
I had good core group friends. We were killing it. So, and other than that, I haven't really played much of anything since WildStar. I've been playing League.
Oh my god. Not League. No,
yeah. I play the crap out of League still.
Yeah, I mean, I have a couple of people from our guild that play, like Strixon, Lukel, Kadaja. There's a couple of people from Axiom that play. Like, just it's a game to play, right? You know what I mean? Especially if you've played League. Like, it's one of those relationships I don't think you can ever just walk away from. Like, eventually you're just gonna come back. And I think that's how World of Warcraft was for me for the longest time. It's just right now I've been playing classic Wrath now, I should say. Just kind of showing my
Did
wife.
Wrath actually launch?
Not yet. It's the pre-patch as of this recording. So I've been, I've picked up classic because my wife wants to play Ashes, and she doesn't know how to play any MMO. She's never dived inside the MMO genre at all. So for her to understand how to move in an MMO, how to like fight, how to pick up items, what items to carry, you know, talent points, you know, looking at abilities, like all these different things, I figured classic WoW, especially because I know it so well, I can really teach her, like, you know, the things of like looking at the map, looking at the mini map, you know, like where to do certain things, like, you know, just all the different things. And that's been a treat. I mean, I never thought in my wildest dreams that my wife would ever be playing World of Warcraft.
Right,
I
right.
literally never thought that.
That's amazing.
It is.
My husband won't play.
Yeah, it's a privilege. I realize.
Right.
So I am grateful. But as far as now, like, you know, you took that break after WildStar, and you know, how did you find out about Ashes? Just curious.
One of the guys that I played WoW with had posted in a Discord that we were in. He posted a lazy PM video from 2020.
Yeah.
And I was like, what is this? I was watching it and I was like, whoa, it totally reminded me of the sandboxiness of UO. And that's what I've been missing in games is sandbox PvP, open world PvP. I don't like running the linear game. Like, okay, everybody's doing the same quests. I'm kind of a PK sometimes. Like straight up, I like in UO, I was a PK.
Right.
And it was just fun for me.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been waiting for something to offer me that open world PvP.
Mm-hmm. And I know with Ashes, right? It every time I talk to people about it, like when I mention to my friends or people that I'm trying to get interested that I know like MMOs, the first thing that turns them off is when I say that it's a PvX game, and they say, PvX, what is that? Like, I've never heard of that. And then I'll mention like, oh, well, there's PvP that you can't really opt out of. And they're like, oh, okay, I'm out. It's just not going to be for me. And I think that's been my biggest hurdle, like trying to convince people to even just to give it a chance. Like there's so many systems that actually, you know, unlike World of Warcraft, where you can literally go on a PvP server and kill someone to your heart's content over and over and over again, you won't be able to do that in Ashes. Like there's actual consequences for PKing. And so for someone like yourself, like that enjoys PKing, are you okay with those kinds of limitations?
Which limitations? Oh, like the
PK,
corruption system?
Yeah, like
yeah,
PKing over and over again.
I mean, that's going to hinder some of my play, honestly, because in UO, I was pretty red. I was very red. I was pretty red.
Dang.
And in order to burn off your corruption or your murder status, you had to like just sit in your house for 5 hours.
Oh my God.
Like that is how you got off a kill. And so you basically just had to lock your character in. When I played, GMs would actually check on you. So if you're just AFKing and leaving you would get booted. So
wow.
Or you could run around and just kill more people or fight it. Like if you run around, people are just going to attack you.
Right.
And at the same time, it's kind of fun in a full loot drop game to run around with nothing but potions and just blow yourself and somebody else up. You die, and that's all you had on you was some potions. But I was a potions mage, so I would make potions that would detonate and blow myself up, blow other people up. It didn't matter, but I just cackled the whole way home. I didn't care what I was losing because all I had on me was a robe and a potion.
No, for sure. I mean, I think again, like I always try to look out for the casual trying to, you know, promote an interest into Ashes, but I also realize too, right, when we say that Ashes of Creation isn't for everybody, but that sentence really worries me, and I feel like that's just a sentence to throw out to say our game's unique. It's not for you. And when it's like when you have a very exclusive club, like on a strip, and you tell people, oh, you may never get into this club, people take that as a challenge and they'll be like, oh, I'll wait in line. I'll do it every day or whatever the case is. And so it's like this exclusionary kind of approach that some games try to do. but I also feel too that the game also has to make up with for good gameplay. And I think, you know, for Ashes, I really hope that the actual gameplay loops, the daily gameplay loops, the leveling loops, which I feel like the leveling in Ashes has to be so spot on, because if you were to take it into something like New World or even like Classic WoW, the leveling in Classic WoW is very, very boring, you know, very, very boring. And then also too, like in New World, like for me, the questing, I only played for maybe less than 20 minutes. So take that as you are. But here's the thing. I only played for 20 minutes because what I was doing, I was not enjoying. Like, you know what I mean? And that's the thing. Like, why do players quit an MMO? It could be a single quest. It could be just the class isn't deep enough. It's like, you know, there's no depth going forward. Like, I don't like the fact that in New World, like, you just have 3 abilities. Like, how much more customization can you really get, especially when you played all these other MMOs where there's 20 something abilities and there's way more customization to really dig deep in, especially as you go to endgame. I knew I wasn't going to have that. So for me, you know, the only thing that I thought that New World did well was professions, you know what I mean? But again, you can be all the professions at the same time in New World, so it felt like an endless Easter egg kind of sorts. But
I feel like that's gonna screw themselves.
Well, right, and Ashes isn't going to be that. You're going to have to specialize in a single profession. So I don't know. Like, I know. So let's talk about this, how we met, right? So how we actually started talking.
Okay.
Apparently you are not an advocate of the video that I made about PvE servers. And you were like, Vlhadus, you are just an idiot. What are you doing?
I did not say that.
No, I'm putting words in your mouth to say to me.
I can burn it, you know, like no PvE servers.
But
it's a PvX game. It's like, and that's the thing. Like, the systems are built around PvP,
right?
And that's why I was like, no, hard no.
No, for sure. And here's the thing, right? Because at the same time, right, I just felt, and again, I know Steven isn't going to make PvE servers a thing. Like, I know that's probably, if you were to ask Steven, like, what are some hard stances about Ashes that you'll never deviate from? That's probably one of them. But the only reason why I mentioned it is because I know there are a ton of people that would love to play Ashes in a complete PvE sort of way. And my whole thing to that is, as long as they're paying $15 a month to Intrepid, we, as the other players, can continue to play. Unlike something that you were very interested in, which was WildStar, which inevitably shut down because people weren't paying $15 a month to that game. And that's what I don't want. I don't want this to be another WildStar where it is an exceptional game at the end of the day. There is a clear definition of players that make up that population, but it is also not enough to sustain a company for profit. And that's what I fear for Ashes. Because at the end of the day, I would rather have PvE servers and a longevity of Ashes of Creation than them keep their stance of a PvX environment and inevitably Ashes goes, you know, down under. And that's what I don't want. And that's why I kind of made that video, is to also kind of see where sort of the echo chambers were. Because I feel like also too, especially if you go on Reddit, you go on the forums, I feel like there's a really huge echo chamber of, you know, people basically saying, oh, like it cannot change, it has to stay the way it is. But I feel like there's going to be more changes along the way. And I'm sure if you saw this latest live stream in August with all of those changes, you know, triple sizing of the world map, automatic flagging whenever you go into naval open waters, which I thought was amazing.
I think that is where they get the people like me who are gonna look for PvP.
Right.
I know where to find it. I know it. That, so to me, it's in UO that they made 2 mirrored worlds, because it was just all open PvP, and then people didn't want the open world PvP, so then they made a mirror world called Trammel, where there was no open PvP. Like, you had to flag or be at war with a guild in order to PvP them on that side of the world. I feel like that's kind of Intrepid's answer to building trammel is making the seas somewhere we can go to PvP.
Right. And I openly. But I also feel too that there's going to be natural battlegrounds that are going to occur, similar to like World of Warcraft and South Shore and Terran Mill. You know, that was a natural battleground on a PvP server. Same thing with like Stranglethorn Vale. Like there was a lot of parts in that zone where it was just a natural battleground, like as you were there. But I think that's a great thing though, because if you can block certain parts of the map, like, and say, hey, this portion of a map has now become a natural battleground. Anybody that goes in there, there's gonna be certain PvE objectives. There can also be maybe certain PvE objectives. And you basically go in there for 45 minutes or whatever, kill people, do what you do. But if you're in that zone, in that particular area, you're not going to be subject to corruption. You're going to be able to like kill multiple people as you want. And I think those things are going to happen. I think Steven said that that's kind of the way he was thinking about how PvP battlegrounds were going to be, because there were going to be actual dynamic things you're not going to have to queue into. They're going to be things that are naturally going to pop up around the world, which I think is actually a really brilliant idea. Because again, I think there's going to be, to add to your point also with the whole sandbox element, that's what people love about those games, is the fact that there's like maybe 10 different things that you can do as soon as you log in, and not just the natural, you know, wait for a queue. Oh yeah, wait for a queue, or even just the natural like theme park feeling, right, where you have to wait in line to do the thing that everyone else is doing, and it's kind of this this treadmill approach to content, and I feel like it's boring. You know, and I think a lot of people are bored by that at this point. But having the variety and also the kind of spice of life to have hopefully so many different things to do, because again, Ashes is probably one of the biggest and most ambitious MMOs I've ever seen.
Oh, absolutely.
And if you were to literally look at every single system under a microscope and then literally zoom out and look at the whole picture, it is a shit ton of content. I mean, at the end of the day,
when I watched Lazy Peon's video in 2020, I was like, if they can give me 25% of these systems,
oh yes,
25%, like that was my, okay, I'll play the crap out of this game.
Right.
And 2 years later, I'm like, okay, we're gonna get these systems. Yep. Holy shit. Like, yep. Like they're giving us what
they said they would.
Yeah. that to me blows my mind.
Well, yeah, like, and I think it's because of that whole beaten dog analogy that Steven always gave, right? You know, the fact that we have heard so many different things from these AAA companies of like, we're going to do better, we're going to listen to feedback, only for them to not do better and not listen to feedback and double down on their dumb vision that no one cares about. And then we have to complain about it for a year or so until they finally change it, only then to add an expansion to rinse and repeat the whole cycle all over again.
Right.
It's, you know, and then especially not even mentioning the whole pay to win aspect and the whole, you know, buying gold and botting and all these other things that make MMOs now just completely not worth putting your time into. You know what I mean? Because it's like you want to be able to spend time in a game where, you know, if you cheat, if you do something that goes against TOS, you're just banned. There's no slap on the wrist. There's no, oh, we're gonna look the other way because as long as you say subscribe, we don't care. No, like the sanctity of the game is worth more. And it really honestly made me fall in love with Intrepid whenever Steven went on that rant at the very end of August's live stream when he answered Lazy Peon's question about that.
Right.
Because I would love if companies took a harder stance on these third-party websites and RMTing. You know, it's just so annoying. And also botting's become such a plague in so many MMOs. It's just annoying, and it's so easy to spot them. Like, how do you not just go in your own game and just look to see what's going on?
What killed me was during Alpha 1, I saw a dude multi-boxing and 4 accounts. 4 accounts in Alpha 1, and I was like, holy shit, how much money did you spend, bro?
Jesus Christ. Because that back then it was $500 a pop. That's $2,000 that he was literally playing on right now. And I'm really curious to see like what Steven is going to do when it comes to multi-boxing. because I feel like players are always going to do the path of least resistance, right? So, you know, if multi-boxing becomes okay, but all these other things aren't, then we're going to have a multi-box problem, and then we're going to have to.
I have a feeling it I'll have to look it up later, but I'm pretty certain I remember them saying that multi-boxing will be allowed.
It will be allowed. Yeah, I remember them saying that too, and I don't think that's a good idea. At the end of the day, like, I don't think that's going to be something, especially because of resources and gathering. If you can multi-box, like, I don't see how that's going to be profitable, or not profitable. I don't see how that's going to be good for the economy.
Right.
You know what I mean? And I don't know, especially because they want bag space to be, you know, limited. They want like traveling to matter. There's like all these things that they want. I just feel like having multiple accounts and accessible at the same time by the same person, it's just not worth it. You're literally catering to like what, less than 1% of people that probably do that.
Right.
But that 1% can literally ruin it for 99. Oh, yeah. So I don't know. I think they'll have to take another approach at that, or another look at that. Maybe in Alpha 2, maybe we can have some multi-boxers actually multi-box to see how drastically would a person like that set up, and, you know, would it really affect a server? But it's really hard to tell, because if Alpha 1 lasts 8 months, is that much of a sample to really get for multi-boxing? You know what I mean? It doesn't seem so. So I don't know. I'm still leery on that.
And the price for Alpha 2 is what, 250? 275?
I want to say it's 375, but I could be wrong. I haven't really looked at the package. I bought my package a while back, so I don't know how I know it's not 500 if you want to get into Alpha 2 right now. I know that. But I guess let's talk about some other things about Ashes of Creation. So when it comes to like, what kind of PvP do you really want to see? Like, when it comes to like open world, like, are you wanting to like do battlegrounds, arena, just killing players while they're gathering? Like,
I will do battlegrounds. I will do arena. I will open world PvP. Anything that arises, I'm down for some PvP. And generally, I'll die. I don't care.
Right.
I'd rather fight people than mobs, and that's just because honestly, I can learn what the mobs do.
Right.
Whoop-de-doo. I like the creation that when somebody throws something at you, like, oh shit, didn't expect that.
Right.
Oh, way to go, bro. I don't care if I die. I really don't.
Right.
But I will also lead my friends to their own death. I'm a troll.
Oh,
so,
I've heard stories of like,
yeah,
you know,
I'm a troll.
Redbeard talking to me about you, and
there was
Psycho.
Yeah, I pulled Psycho straight to Fell Reaver.
Oh my god.
That was a good time.
Oh my god. Oh, so let me ask you just this, because, you know, I was really glad to stumble upon Axiom and to get into that whole community and everything like that. I'm just really curious, how did you stumble upon to Suspect and get to know those guys?
We were actually part of another guild.
Oh, okay.
During Alpha 1. Prior to Alpha 1, actually. And it went another way than we had anticipated.
Okay.
So I had bounced quite a bit before everybody else did. And I had told Psycho, I said, you're my GM, bro. If you ever do it, let me know. And a couple months later, he's like, okay, we're doing it. Let's go. So
that's awesome. So it was basically like,
was to hold the band together, honestly.
Right. No, I can respect that. We did that in WoW twice. I followed the same guy for a while up until like we finally, where he had to do life. I mean, he had to go to college, get his PhD. You know, he wanted to become a teacher, a college professor. So I had to join a whole other guild. But they were a friend of ours. But it was just it was just different after that. You know what I mean? So I can totally respect that. I know.
We were told the guild was going one way, and then it was like, it promised it wasn't going the direction that they chose for it to go, and we're like, no, wait, no,
Right. It was going to PvE servers.
no. Yeah.
They're like, we're gonna do PvE
That's the
servers,
hard
guys,
no.
and they're like,
That's the hard
oh,
yeah,
no, I can't do that.
that's where you lose me.
No, I get you. So, I guess like when it comes to like classes, I'm really curious as to like what classes did you play in Alpha 1 and what class are you looking forward to in Alpha 2?
Cleric.
I would not have pegged you as a healer. For someone who loves PvP, I mean, I thought you would want to like be like a ranger or an assassin or something like that.
Probably gonna go rogue cleric rogue.
Okay, I can respect that. And did you have a lot of fun on the cleric in Alpha 1?
I had a great time. It was overpowered.
I was hearing that like the clerics were actually like really overpowered.
I enjoyed the spear. I enjoyed the movement of the spear. It wasn't optimal, but I enjoyed how the spear felt, so I stuck to it. And once I find something I like, I kind of just stick to it.
Right.
But the lasso, the
castigation,
whip,
yeah,
it's fun. I don't know if you've ever heard the story of the time East was supposed to be leading PvP, but he was doing an interview, and he was supposed to be our PvP lead, but Maggie and Toasted pulled him into another channel because at the end of Alpha 1, the first weekend of Alpha 1, Stephen had kind of done like this event for all different servers, and for our server, we had all gotten pulled together and had to fight all the dragons. And then because they had asked us not to PvP and instead work on certain tasks in the first weekend. So our server actually did the tasks and really didn't do the PvPing. So at the end of the weekend, Stephen pulled us all together and flagged us all for a civil war. And so the guild that we were in was us fighting wood, essentially.
Oh my god!
As we're fighting up this hill, and we look over, and Isk is elsewhere, who's supposed to be our PvP lead in that guild, and somebody just says, "There's Isk," and he's just standing on a hill. So I chuck my spear at him and like pull him, and then somebody else pulled him with it. It was a grand old time, like, and he just calls it being Geneva Conventions because he was doing a report.
Oh my god!
It was a good time,
dude. I wish I was a part of Alpha 1, man. Like I was still too deep in the WoW hole. I'm so glad I crawled the hell out of it. Like, I mean, I played WoW for 15 years.
Right.
I literally didn't feel comfortable playing any other MMO. It was just a game that I knew. It was a game that I complained about, but it was also a game that I loved. You know what I mean? And I think also the sink cost fallacy of it just really hit me hard whenever I was really considering to quit. And I don't know how you did that with Ultima Online, but to this day, like when I'm playing Classic and I'm not even playing retail anymore, and I have all of my characters, all of the things that I've done on those things, it really sucks to just say that it's all gone. Like it's not gone, it's just
it's there, but
it's there, never to be touched again.
Right.
It's really crappy feeling.
I haven't played. Apparently, I played in Cataclysm. I don't remember playing Cata. I really don't. But apparently,
crazy time back then.
I played. I checked my account like during Mists, and I was like, oh, apparently I played Cata. Whatever. But when I played WoW, I played with my parents.
What? Your parents were playing WoW with you? Oh my god, that's cool.
What's odd is my parents divorced when I was 4, and my dad and my mom are like running around free WoW together, like blowing shit up. It was interesting. And my dad played a gnome warlock, and he called himself half-assed. And
That's a good name.
I know. And whenever he would go out and adventure, he would send my character mail, and he would like send her mail and be like, Miss Isabel, I need help getting Halfsies needs help getting his dread steed. Can maybe you and your friends help me? And to this day, I still have letters from my dad's character in my mail. And wow. And
Oh,
so I will pay for my subscription just to make sure it's still there.
right. And that's
And so I get that.
yeah, it's like I understand, you know, like I have games, right? Like, you know, Final Fantasy 7 that I've had on PlayStation. I have my save files that have everything on them or whatever. But there's just something about MMOs
Mhm.
where once you've put in the time,
Work for that shit.
well, you did. But I think it's also the time with your friends, like the friends, the
Oh,
relationships
absolutely.
you made that really make it more of an impact and more of a harder to leave behind kind of thing. Like, I don't know, because I've met a lot of my really, really good friends that I've known for many, many years that I
Yeah.
still know because
Right.
of WoW. And I know that's the case for a lot of people when it comes to whatever MMO they've played. I've known people, you know, that I've talked on here where they said, oh, I was playing like Ultima Online or like EverQuest, and we moved to another game together, and then we moved to another game together. And right now we're still talking after 20 something years. And I'm like,
Right.
holy crap, man. That's,
I'm
and
still in contact with somebody I played UO with. Like,
oh,
I
dang,
still talk to them, like,
that's
not
awesome.
about video games. He
Right.
doesn't play games anymore, but I
Right.
mean,
It's like,
we still talk.
yeah, you just, some people get families, some people
Mhm.
get their careers going. And it's so funny. Like, there was that quote from The Office that Andy says, and he says, I really wish I knew I was in the good old days before I actually left them. And
Aw.
and that hit me so hard when it came to games, because damn, like there was so many times that I just felt like I took for granted, because I thought to myself, it's always going to be this way. All
Right.
these people are going to be with me, and we're going to be raiding, and we're going to have a good time, and
Right.
something changes, you know what I mean? Things change. And I don't know, like as much as I am afraid of change, it's because of that change of where I am today. Like, I'm here making YouTube videos and have a podcast and have a really awesome guild that I really enjoy being with, that are friends with you guys. And that's how I met you and Captain Redbeard and Psycho and, you know, Grumpy and, you know, all these other people. It's been great, you know what I mean? Because I decided to say, hey, as much as I appreciate the time I had in WoW, like, it is time for me to move on. And going into Ashes, it's been nothing but good vibes and good people. And that's, go
For
ahead.
me, frankly, if it wasn't for the community, I probably wouldn't still be paying attention to Ashes at
Exactly.
all. Like, at all. It was the community, 100%.
I totally agree with that. And the fact that people, you know, just even unlike myself, that are making, you know, Ashes of Creation content. I mean, you have so many people that are, you know, trying to go into these live streams and break them down and give their feedback. And I don't know, like, I just love seeing all of the different ways that people look at Ashes of Creation, because I also feel like, just like yourself, right? When I say PvE servers, you're like, nah, Vlhadus, like, what are you talking about? Because there's also a vision that comes with Ashes. And I also feel like there's almost like a level of responsibility, because we know about the game, that we want new people to understand the game the way we know it, and not just learning some secondhand information that's probably outdated, that's also like a half truth, that was a truth back in like 2018 but isn't something that's really true today. And I feel like that's how kind of like information sort of passes now. It's like a bad game of telephone. And so the last thing I want is for someone to get turned off to Ashes because of bad or incorrect information. And I know, like, that's why I try my best to advocate for like the casual player, see where their problems are, see what would cause them to quit, and see, well, what can we do to remedy that? Like, what can Ashes do to make it the best possible starting experience, where we can show them a little bit of what the game is and have it be fun, have it be engaging, have it be ever growing, like we know Ashes is going to be, But then when they reach a certain point, there's like a time to understand that there's threat out there, not just mob related, but people related. That there's other systems that they can actually deep dive in and understand and grow with. And I don't know. I think if we can get to that spot, that would be amazing, because there were so many people in New World that quit New World before they even hit level 30.
Yeah.
And so with Ashes being, I would say, what did Steven say? 4 to 6 hours every day for 45 days.
Yeah.
That's
my concern. That is my concern.
Right.
Because my intrepidation about the game itself and its longevity is behind just the fact that we all need instant gratification. Like, we have to have instant gratification.
Yeah.
And that's just the way gaming is now. I can't. I mean, honestly, have you ever played a game where you had to spend 4 or 5 hours a day, every day, on a boat, casting spells at your friends to build up a skill?
Right. No, you're totally right.
That's how we played UO. Like,
yeah, that's where a lot of games were played back then. I mean, there were a lot of, systems back then that took a lot of your time. And a lot of it was just as a time sink. It wasn't for fun purposes. It's not like you had fun doing that, but it's because you did it because you knew it had to be done in order to get to where you wanted to be. But nowadays, we've traded that in for convenience and instant gratification systems, which is why I think MMOs have been so shallow and just unplayable in the sense of fun. Like, they're just, okay, I did it in like 6 hours. Now what? Oh, okay, we'll just do these 2 game loops over and over for the next 8 weeks until the next patch comes out. What? Like, but that's how it is. Like, that's literally how it is. And
that's why, like, theme park games aren't my jam. They're just not. They don't hold my interest. That's why I'm stoked about the sandbox portion.
Well, right. But
I don't want to do the same shit every day.
No, for sure. But I also feel like, too, we also kind of need a little bit of a reprogramming when it comes to, like, MMOs. And it's not saying that, every MMO can be different. But I also feel like the one thing that I think a lot of MMOs did back in the day, that leveling wasn't the end-all be-all. It wasn't the thing that you had to do day one. Leveling was the adventure. It was the whole, like, understanding the world, the lore, your character, your abilities. It wasn't a race. Like, no one was racing back then.
It is a race now.
But it is a race.
In Suspect, I am the absolute pleb. Like, I am the casual.
Really?
For sure. Yeah, I'm the casual.
Okay. So do you want to take your time in Ashes? Like, do you want, because I'll just speak for myself for a little bit. I want to go at my own pace and not feel rushed to get to end game to do activities. Like, I want to play it with my wife. I want to play in a way where I am just taking it all in. You know what I mean? I log in, I'll do some leveling quests, but then if I get sidetracked because there's some PvP battleground or there's some caravan that's out there and I'm going to choose to defend it or attack it, or, like, I want it to be very spontaneous and just off the cuff, and not have it be so procedural. You know what I mean? Because I think that's how a lot of games are nowadays.
Yeah. For me, I'm pretty certain I'm going to go chill. Like, I'm going to do my thing. I'm going to go slow. I'll let everybody go do their thing, and I'll catch up later. Because I'll do a lot of the guild work and in the back end anyway. So let them play, because we've got some. And wow, I made fun of the elitist jerks guys. Like, who the fuck is out there making these charts? Fucking nerds. That's these dudes, and I'm like, okay, spreadsheets are fucking fun.
Oh, well, yeah.
I'm not the spreadsheet person.
No, neither am I.
Definitely got them, and they love it.
No, for sure.
So
I know.
I'm not that guy.
Yeah, no, I know for me, and we could talk about this too. Like, do you want Ashes to be a game that you can play entirely by yourself? Or
No.
do you want it to where there's going to be some times where you're going to need people, like you're going to need like people in your guild to help you, because it is like the old school group quests, you know, maybe like the old wanted quests, or maybe there's like a point where you need 3 other people, or I think a group in Ashes is 7 or 8. I'm sorry. So
8.
8 or 8 including yourself. So you would invite 7 other people.
Yeah.
Like, do you like, what kind of game do you want it to be? Because I always hear this whole thing that Ashes should be completely soloable. I've heard the opposite argument. I'm just curious to see where you kind of find yourself.
I think the party of 8 is 5 is not enough dynamics for me.
Right.
Like a WoW 5 was just, it's the same 5 people all the time. And you got
right.
1 healer, 1 tank, and
3
3
DPS.
DPS. In UO, it was everybody had to learn to cross heal, and that's what I'm hoping for, is like you have to have a solid, I know they're going with the Trinity, but a solid balance in the 8, like cross healing and whatnot.
Well, like bards and summoners.
Yeah, more support.
Right.
I like the idea of not just there just being some support roles too. So I think 8 really isn't that bad.
Right. So when it comes to the leveling portion, would you be okay with like, let's say 80% of it soloable? Or like, what would you think a good percentage, like if you were ahead of Ashes of Creation, right? If you were Steven Sharif, like what do you think would be a good balance? Because I've heard people say 100% of the leveling should be soloable. I've heard people say, oh, it needs to be like a 50-50 kind of balance. I've heard people say
about 65.
Oh, okay.
Soloable.
65% soloable?
Yeah. And
if you were to put group challenges, like what kind of group challenges would you do? Would you do like more dungeon-based things? Would you do like like special elite mobs that you would have to get through? Maybe some gauntlets? Like what would you think?
I would gauntlets for sure.
Oh,
I love
yeah.
Gauntlets.
Yeah. Me too.
That's where it's at.
I love, like I would love a quest where you go into like a goblin village and like you and your whole party's there, and then there's like a goblin king at the top, and he's just like sending wave after wave after wave after wave, and then he'll send his like 2 lieutenants, and then the 2 lieutenants die, and he's like, I'm gonna take care of it, and he jumps down.
You talking about the stairs? What the hell is it?
Oh, in classic WoW?
Yeah.
A ZF. Yeah, in ZF. Yeah.
That was great. That was a great freaking fight.
Oh yeah. Like I love that dungeon. As a lot of the dungeons in classic WoW, I think were pretty damn creative.
Yeah.
But I don't know. Like I just think that there needs to be times where you can't do it by yourself. And I think there's going to be some times where there are going to be quests that you can do by yourself, but you wouldn't want to do by yourself because the area you're in, you know, is very dangerous. And even though it's possible for you to solo those monsters, you're going to find yourself wanting help. You're going to find yourself being like, hey, I'm going to need like a bard with me, or a cleric, or even a tank. Like if I'm not a tank, if I'm just like a rogue or something like that. Like that's what I'm hoping for.
I'm hoping for less questing and more sandboxy.
Okay.
Because I don't know. I just prefer to make my own fun.
No, for sure. But the only thing
UO is a completely different game.
Right.
And you didn't have quests. You had no quests. Like we had to make up our own quests.
Well, you see, I never played UO, so I don't know like what kind of a leveling process that would be. But what kind of scares me is the fact that if it is 4 to 6 hours every day for 45 days to level, if you have less quests, then what are you doing to earn experience to level? You know what I mean? So you would want to be able, and that's the thing I've heard people say too, is that if you were to make every single activity in the game give experience, you could have less quests and have the quests actually be more meaningful. You know what I mean? And so because of how nodes work and the leveling of those nodes and the contributions you can into like killing mobs or even certain mobs, or maybe even there's like a bulletin board in the node area that says, hey, you know, this is like this mob needs to die because they're causing deforestation in our area. And then there's like a little gaming mechanic where if you kill those ones, you get double experience because they're like wanted animals in the area. Like, I don't know, I think there can be those kinds of things, but again, I'm very fearful because I don't know, especially coming from a WoW brain, right? Like, I'm so used to having a shit ton of quests. Like I'm used to doing from 10 levels, like going to the next expansion, probably doing anywhere between 500 to 700 quests, like, you know, leveling, you know, and they're all just meaningless quests, you know, and they probably share a little bit of tidbits here and there for lore, but for the most part, they're just there to get you to max level, you know. And I think that's been the whole bore for a lot of people and why questing is so boring, because you just do all these quests, kill 10 wolves, you know, go steal this key in this box, you know, like all these quests that really don't do anything. Like, you're just doing it because it's the thing that brings you experience. But I guess you're probably right. If they do offer experience in a lot of the different ways that you can play the game, PvPing, arena, just the different crafting. Oh, dude, I would love if they made experience a really real experience, because I know WoW does have experience when you gather a node or create something, but it's nowhere near enough. Like, if you could literally level just off of gathering and crafting, that would make me a very happy boy.
Yeah.
For Ashes of Creation.
I'm guessing, my guess is that we get that, because crafting is going to be such a center to the game that we get valuable gains off of crafting.
Right. And
if not, I'll be sad.
Well, no, I do think they are going to do that, but I'm really curious, like, in MMOs, do you normally do professions?
In WildStar, I was a crafting lead for our guild, and our guild was working towards world first. We didn't make it. We were like fifth.
Hey, that's still an accomplishment. Jesus, that's awesome. But
so I was a crafting lead.
So what, especially learning, or I'm probably sure you know a lot about the professions that are in Ashes of Creation. Like, what would you want to do in Ashes of Creation when it comes to the professions?
I'm building furniture.
Oh.
I'm all about the housing.
Yes. I'm actually really excited about the actual player housing for Ashes, because I've been advocating for WoW to have actual legit player housing and not these stupid garrisons for the longest time. And I think Final Fantasy, Guild Wars 2, wait, does Guild Wars 2 have? I don't know. I haven't played Guild Wars 2, but I know ESO has housing as well. But I do know more about Final Fantasy 14, and I do think their housing system is quite cool. And as far as everything that I know that Intrepid wants to do, I mean, they're going to go pretty damn deep into the, like, crafting of, like, chairs, tables, like, wallpapers, flooring, like, all that stuff.
The only reason I was sad about the enlarging of the world map was because I was hoping that we were going to have to seriously fight over space to lay a freehold, because we had to do that in WoW or UO. You had to wait, if you'd have to walk around and like click on signs on houses and say, wait for it to say like this house is in decay, and then wait up to 2 weeks to camp that house for 2 weeks and hope you're the person that's there when the house falls. Take their shit and drop your house.
Yeah, that's kind of nuts.
It was amazing because that created PvP.
Well,
you're waiting for that house to fall, and that house falls, and everybody just comes out of stealth and just starts whacking at each other. It was a great time.
No, for sure. But I honestly feel that there's already enough PvP, like, in Ashes. But I think really the what people were worried of is that there wasn't going to be enough space. And so with the tripling and making sure that, hey, if you took the time to get enough gold to put that plot of land and you want to have a house in the Riverlands or in the Sand Squall Desert or, you know, wherever you go, I mean, you can do that. And I think, what was that?
Dudes in Cal Mountains.
Oh yeah, I mean, anywhere, you know what I mean? And I think that's going to be, that's what's going to be really cool, is the fact that I have never in an MMO seen that, where there's actual static or actual like droppable housing on the actual world itself. That one day you'll pass by something and it'll just be vacant, you know, just like, you know, normal plot of land. You might come a month later and then there's like a little cottage there, you know, with like a freaking tannery or something like that, some profession that's there too. You might come across an inn and you're like, what the hell? Like, you know what I mean? And I think that's the biggest draw for Ashes of Creation, is the fact that, you know, this node system is going to be literally ever changing, and it's only going to get better and better and better. And especially because, unlike the decay system we were talking about for player housing, there is going to be declaration of war that can potentially happen on castles and on nodes, which I'm just saying, the very first siege of Ashes of Creation is going to be the biggest thing you're going to see on Twitch. Especially, I would hope so. Yeah, especially if it's two major streamers. If it's, let's say, Asmongold versus Tim the Tatman, that's gonna be huge. Like, there's gonna be videos
upon watching that shit.
Oh yeah, everybody be watching it, because again, it's just gonna be like the first siege on the server to happen, and it's by these two big streamers. You know what I mean? Even if it's not done by big streamers, people are still gonna watch it because it's the first siege that's happening. And so you want to know, like, who's going to make it out alive and who's going to, like, be the loser, and you can make fun of them or whatever. I don't know. But I mean, either way, I'm just excited that whatever Steven is doing with Intrepid and with Ashes of Creation, that he's maintaining his vision, because most developers lose sight of their vision so quickly because they're just trying to go where the money is. And I really applaud Steven for making Ashes, because I'm sure he would have done his research and known that PvP MMOs don't necessarily make a lot of money, and a lot of them fail. A lot of them go under. But I think I
think where he's at is he's making a game for himself.
True.
And if I could, I would. So
well, no, for sure. I mean, if you had the money like Steven did, I probably would have done the same exact thing. You know what I mean? But I guess my whole thing with that is that even though he knows, you know, that there's a lot of PvP games that go under, he's still going through with it because he believes that what they fail on, he can actually do correctly. And honestly, like, I really feel like if they can really nail their vision, and like you said, even 25%, if they did 50, 75%, to a lot of people, it'll be a success. But they're wanting to go beyond. They're wanting to literally do 100% of what they said they wanted to do. And I don't know.
I'm scared about the balancing. I'm not gonna lie, that balancing is gonna be tough.
Well, and again, I think that's where we're gonna have to go in and really give our feedback in Alpha 2. Go to the forums, you know, go to Reddit, go to anywhere, freaking tweet Steven Sharif himself and tell him what happened to you or what your experience is like. I think if any studio is willing to listen to feedback, it is Intrepid Studios, because they've shown time and time again that they are wanting the feedback because they want to put this game in the direction of the players. And I think that's a very good spot to be in. And I think it's encouraging as a player, because before I wouldn't leave my feedback on WoW. Why? Just so they can ignore it. And I just wasted 2 hours of my time writing some 1,000-page, or not even 1,000-word essay about how you're not going to read it. And I just literally screamed into the nether. Like, no. But I would definitely write a 5,000-page essay on Ashes of Creation, because I know that they would probably read it. You know what I mean?
And that was it for me. That's Carbine, who made Wildstar. They listened to us. Rip Wildstar.
Yeah.
Rip Wildstar.
Dude, Fane. Okay, I don't know if you know Fane, Wizzy, but
I know.
Fane is a huge Wildstar fanboy. I mean, we talk about Wildstar, we talk about all the things they did right, but again, that game was very hard. And
it was a very hard
game. And I also think too, just like how some movies that come out at the wrong time, you know, you have some movies that they'll say, oh, that movie was such ahead of its time, like Fight Club, for an example. When Fight Club came out, no one watched it. It bombed in the freaking theaters. I'm serious. It bombed.
I had no idea.
It bombed. It wasn't a good movie when it came out. But then, of course, years later, after the fact, it caught on. People were like, holy crap, what is this movie? And it became the cult classic it is now. You know what I mean? Same thing with a movie like Fifth Element. Fifth Element bombed in the box office.
Did it?
Yes,
so
but it is a great movie. I love The Fifth Element. It's so great. But again, I think it's because sometimes in that time, in that whatever's going on in the MMO space, you know, in 2012 or whatever it was, we just weren't ready for it.
Right.
But nowadays, people are playing League. 130 million people every month playing League of Legends. People literally pulling their hair out, you know, causing them to lose years of their life because of League of Legends. And again, I feel like maybe we are ready for something like that. Maybe not to the full extent of WildStar, but I also feel like we are ready for an MMO that isn't geared towards the like everybody.
When WildStar came out, Rift had come out. Final Fantasy 14 was somewhat fresh.
Yes.
We just saw Mists of Pandaria. There was a lot in the market.
SWTOR came out, right? It was 2011 too. Like there was a whole bunch of MMOs that came out around the time.
A lot. And I feel like the market was just flush with choice.
Right.
And a lot of people weren't ready for action combat.
Well, I feel like it was probably a little bit of action that turned them off, but I feel because there were other games.
Let's see.
Oh, thank you. Hopefully that wasn't too loud. Hopefully, or basically because there were so many choices that you can do. Of course, you're going to take the path of least resistance. You're going to play the game that's really, really hard, or all the other ones that are super easy, super casual, you know, in nature.
A lot of people didn't like the art style of WildStar as well. Like a lot of my friends were like, I'm not playing. I don't like the art style. Like it's too cartoony. It's
the same as WoW. Like what are people talking about? It's the same thing.
Way more memey. There's so many memes in that game. It was, there was a lot of humor in it. And that's what I enjoyed about it.
There was a lot of humor.
Amazing. The house
people talked about the housing all the time in WildStar. And I think especially for its time, I mean, I think I look at Ashes, right? And they look at every single game that does something in that game very well. Like they look at Black Desert Online, character creator, one of the best character creators on the market. And Ashes is like, yep, we're going to take that concept and we're going to make it better. And I'm like, what? Like you're going to take the best thing on the market and make it better. And then of course, completely dumbfounded whenever we actually see their character creator. And I'm like, holy crap.
That's what they're doing with, like, I feel like the crafting stations.
Oh, I know.
On Freehold is what WildStar did really well.
Right.
Like you had plugs in WildStar for your crafting station. You could put in what you wanted on your property.
Right.
And so I'm looking forward to the housing.
Oh, I know. And I think it's going to be, like I said, like you can have your Freehold and have your tannery. You can have your jewel crafting station. You can have, you know, whatever profession that's there, the whole animal husbandry system. You can have different animals corralled in like a little area. You know, it's like, hey, you want to buy that animal? I can make this into this certain amount for you if you want. You know what I mean? And that's going to be really, really, really cool because you can actually visit it. And it's not this instance place that's completely, you know, decentralized from where you are. It's something you can literally see on your server.
And that's what I loved about UO. Like you could just be patrolling the world and there's a little shop. Look at that guy. He's got 10 NPCs and you go through all the NPCs and ta-da, he's got some super fucking epic on there that you can buy.
Right.
And that to me was the best part of UO. Was just being able to go around and see what people had on their house, in their houses, in their stores, because people had some epic shit.
Oh no, for sure. And
a lot of people were just chilling at the bank, spamming. But I enjoyed just wandering around.
No, for sure. And I want to say that player stalls is going to be in Ashes because
in town. Yeah.
Right. They're gonna have them in town, and again, I think that's just a very different way that I'm used to. But I find that to be much more engaging, to where it's almost like a flea market of sorts, right? You can just go to all these different people that have wares for sale, and it's not NPCs, it's actual people. You know what I mean? And I think that's what makes it feel better. And you could even probably have like joke items for sale, because like you're probably gonna have some YouTuber, right, that's like known for making these like really weird items, but you buy them because they're memey and they're funny, and you know, and you could literally have that. Like, it's like, oh, I have you know, a potion by Wizzy McNasty. You know what I mean? It's one of her specialized potions. You know what I mean?
It will be a table.
It'll be a special crafted table that you could put your potions on. But no, I'm just saying, like, I think that's what's going to make the content in Ashes like very much more lively, and make you feel like you're actually in a world and not just in this, you know, virtual gaming environment, what it mostly feels like nowadays. But I guess to kind of, you know, wrap up our conversation.
Oh, we've been chatting for a while, huh?
I know, it's already been an hour, and I've always said this. Every single time I talk to people, it never feels like that. It always feels like I've been talking for like 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and then I look and it's just like, where the hell is the time gone? But no, what do you feel like Ash as a creation needs to do correctly to succeed?
Balance.
Okay.
Balance and class balance is gonna be the real test, the super duper hard test.
Right.
Is balancing the classes. But I know they're gonna balance it. They're balancing around the party of 8 rather than the single player.
Right.
So people are gonna be like, oh, I feel so underpowered. I can't 1v1 you, but it is what it is.
Well, and I think the reason why they're doing that is because they want other class strengths to complement yours.
Yeah.
The thing that I feel happens most of the time in MMOs is that it's so homogenized, where one single class has like everything. They have the buff, they have a damage reduction, they have cooldowns, they have a stun, they have every single utility at their belt, because everybody else has every utility underneath their belt too. But I don't think people are used to not having everything at their disposal. And maybe you're only good at one thing. Like, maybe you're only good at maybe 1.5 things. But that's why you want this other class, because together you make up like maybe 40% of what's needed. And then you bring someone else and it brings like 60%, and you bring someone else and it's like 80%. You know what I mean? And I think having that sort of that give and take, because again, if you look at Classic WoW, that's what Classic WoW did back then. It's like you wanted other classes. You didn't just want anything. You wanted specific things to kind of make up your
specific roles.
Yeah, to make up your party. And I feel like nowadays it's just strayed away from that a little bit, right? Because no one feels unique, because everyone's the same. It's like, you know, carbon copies of each other.
It feels like that ended for me. The specific role felt like it ended in Old War and Wrath, and then the second TOC came out. It was just like anybody can do anything. Yay!
Yeah, TOC to me was a horrible raid. It was so boring. And here's my thing. This is the funniest story. My first raid ever in World of Warcraft, because I was a PvPer when I hit endgame in World of Warcraft. This is in Burning Crusade. All I did was PvP, Battlegrounds, and Arena. That's all I did. I didn't enter into my first raid until TOC. And I was like, this is garbage, man. And the gear sucked too. I'm like, what the hell?
But it was, you didn't do Old War? Because Old War was
so
fucking good.
I did do Old War because the Hunter gear in Old War looked amazing, and the freaking gear in TOC for Hunter, the male set or whatever, looked like garbage. And I was like, I would rather look like this than look like that.
See, for me, Old War was so much fun. Like, that was 25-man hard modes, progression rating. Old War was pinnacle WoW for me.
Oh, yeah.
And we were having a great time. And then TOC came out, and everybody's like, oh, let's just go to TOC. It's easier.
Yeah, it's easier with higher item level. And what's so funny is that with classic now, classic Wrath, they're changing that. They're making 25 hard mode Uldar have a higher, basically have almost the same item level as ICC normal.
Let's fucking go.
Because they basically wanted to not circumvent TOC, but they didn't want to devalue Uldar.
Because they know that's where they fucked up.
Yep. And because it was so much easier, it's like if you were to take on 25-man mode Algalon, how does that compare to 25-man whatever boss in TOC? Yeah, like who cares? You know what I mean? Like there was much more of a challenge over there that provides you a lower item level. So I'm really glad that they're making that change for Wrath. But either way, Wizzy, it was a pleasure chatting with you and talking with you. And I know it took a little bit for us to actually, like, you know,
it's been a while.
Yeah, to actually get connected.
A long time ago.
Yeah, I know. But I really appreciate your patience. And if anything, like, do you have like a Twitter, or do you have something I can link, or do you want people just to go on to
McNasty on Twitter?
Okay.
Discord, what else?
Yeah, if you want to go talk to Wizzy, she is a member of the guild Suspect. They are a friend of ours from Axiom. So if you want to find a guild, I know Suspect is very PvP oriented. They're going to be, I mean, you can probably correct me, but I know they're going to be more of like a mercenary kind of guild. So kind of like guns for hire approach.
We went into New World as mercenaries. And we didn't intend to be mercenaries, but it turned out that way, and it was very profitable for us. We're like, well, we might as well.
Yeah, I think if anything, Ashes is going to be very profitable when it comes to mercenary stuff and guns for hire, especially for like protection, caravan runs, escorts, you name it. I mean, it's gonna be up there.
When we went into New World, we were small, and we did not like. By the end of it, we were holding 4 of the 11 territories. Yeah.
Oh, damn.
You didn't know that.
Wow. No, I did not.
All that happened via mercenary contracts. So. Wow. Yeah, it was
damn.
It worked out for us. So
all right, then.
We're gonna run that into Ashes.
Yeah, Wizzy's gonna murk you, so be careful out there. If whatever server you belong on, if you see Wizzy, just run. But again, thanks, Wizzy, so much for having this conversation. I really hope you enjoyed it. Guys, if you like this conversation, hit that thumbs up button. It helps out the algorithm gods, so hopefully that they'll recognize our 1v1 show. And again, I am your host, Vlhadus. That is Wizzy McNasty from Suspect, and this is the 1v1 podcast, and we will see you guys on the next one. Later, guys.